cases from the crew of the Patricia Oldendorff ship off the coast of Port Hedland. This brought the total confirmed cases associated with the ship to 17. 7 aboard the ship as part of the essential crew and 10 in hotel quarantine. That number remains unchanged for now. I want to acknowledge the efforts and expertise of our team up in Port Hedland, who have managed a very difficult situation extremely well. I want to reiterate that we are well prepared to manage the situation in Port Hedland, and every possible measure is being put in place to protect the local community. Our priority, first and foremost, is the health of West Australians. That is why we need to carefully manage this situation, and those in hotel quarantine are being kept away from the public and under strict supervision. Over the weekend, the state government requested support from the Australian Defence Force to assist our team in Port Hedland. We welcome their response and look forward to them providing that assistance on the ground from Thursday this week. Plans are continuing with the vessel operator, the Australian Maritime Safety Authority and Pilbara Ports Authority regarding potential replacement crew members and deep cleaning of the ship. As I said, I'd like to thank the Health Department staff and WA Police on the ground in Hedland for all of their efforts to date. Now, just to give you an update on the current state of play in Western Australia more broadly. You may recall back in July, we announced a tougher border regime for people arriving into Western Australia from Victoria. This was based on advice from the Chief Health Officer in response to the extremely concerning situation that was unfolding with rapidly growing daily case numbers. We significantly reduced the list of exemptions for people who had been in Victoria for the previous 14 days. Our objective was to slow the flow of arrivals into WA from Victoria to protect our citizens from the increased threat of the virus being imported into WA. Shortly after, we further strengthened our protection measures for arrivals from both Victoria and New South Wales, given the escalating situation in those states. This meant that anyone arriving from Victoria was given a direction to immediately quarantine in a government-controlled hotel facility at their cost. This was a significant decision, but an important one in our fight to protect Western Australia from an uncontrolled outbreak of COVID-19. For people arriving into WA from New South Wales, we also significantly reduced the exemption list. This meant that Victoria and New South Wales had the same tighter exemption categories. In effect, our border controls got even stronger. We recognised that these measures were extremely tough and made life difficult for many people. I want to thank everyone for their understanding and commitment to doing the right thing during this extremely difficult time. We didn't introduce these measures lightly, but they were necessary to protect our community. The results show these measures were highly successful in reducing the numbers of potential cases into Western Australia and protecting Western Australians. Our hard border continues to be one of our most effective weapons in stopping the spread of COVID-19 into our state. Thanks to our border and quarantine arrangements, we have now gone 171 days without community transmission in Western Australia. An incredible achievement. I'd like to thank all West Australians for their help in achieving this outcome. It has allowed us to open up our economy faster than anywhere else, creating jobs at a faster rate in Western Australia than anywhere else in Australia, and potentially the world. It's the reason the Reserve Bank Deputy Governor said WA is leading the nation in our economic response, which we are. And it's meant in WA, life is virtually back to normal, free from the restrictions that are in place in the eastern states. We have monitored the situation over east very closely over the past few weeks, and it's very pleasing to see the outlook significantly improving. It's important we continue to have a reasonable and proportionate response to this situation. But I stress a cautious approach is needed here. There is no need to unnecessarily rush and make decisions that put our state at risk. We have come so far in our COVID journey. We don't want all our efforts as a state to go to waste. As a result, today, we are formally launching the new G2G Now app. I'll let the Police Commissioner explain it in more detail, but in short, this new app will deliver greater certainty and confidence in self-quarantining. WA Police have been doing an exceptional job in monitoring those people self-quarantining, including regular physical checks. But our WA Police cannot be there 24/7. This new app will allow WA Police to check in on people remotely whilst they are in self-quarantine. It is an Australian first, using the best technology developed by a local company here in Western Australia. We encourage everyone who has an exemption to come into WA to download the app and use it. It will make life easier for yourself and for West Australian Police, but most importantly, it keeps you safe and the rest of our community safe. As a result of this technology, we have confidence in taking the next steps to ease some of our restrictions. Based on the declining case numbers in Victoria, the Chief Health Officer has recommended some changes to arrangements for Victorians entering Western Australia, providing the case numbers continue to trend downwards. From Monday, October 5, people who have travelled from Victoria will no longer need to quarantine in a hotel facility as long as they have an appropriate premise to quarantine in safely. These people will be able to self-quarantine for 14 days at a suitable premise. Like everyone coming into Western Australia, we strongly encourage and ask these people to download and use the new G2G Now app. The incentive to download the G2G Now app is that you will not need to have police physically checking in on you as regularly. Victorians, or people from Victoria, will be tested on arrival into Perth and again on day 11 of their 14 days of quarantine. I must note, for people who have travelled from Victoria, currently in hotel quarantine, or anyone arriving from Victoria before Monday, you will need to complete your 14 days of hotel quarantine. So to repeat, from Monday, October 5, people coming to Western Australia from Victoria will be required to undertake 14 days of self-quarantine. This is significant. This is a significant but reasonable change, and will help ease the demand on our hotel quarantine arrangements as our number of international arrivals of Australians returning home is expected to gradually increase over coming weeks. The Chief Health Officer has also recommended some changes to people entering WA from New South Wales based on that state continuing to report low numbers of cases. So from Monday, October 5, New South Wales will be brought into line with all other jurisdictions. This means the current conditions that apply to other states and territories will now apply to New South Wales as well. Victoria will be the only unique case. This also includes a COVID-19 test on day 11 of their quarantine. We expect this change will allow for more exempt travel to occur from New South Wales, similar to our original hard border arrangement in place from the 5th of April. This is a positive step forward for our nation. We can make these adjustments to our border controls because of the positive results we have recently seen over East. We have a responsibility to ensure our border controls are appropriate and reasonable as we continue to do what is in our state's best interests, and that is to protect West Australians from the worst of this deadly virus. We are witnessing the damage COVID-19 is having and causing around the world. Too many people are losing their lives. Right now, Europe and Britain are experiencing a second wave, which is worse than the first. Western Australia is the envy of the world. Our health and our economy is in the best possible position, considering what is happening around us. That is why a cautious approach is necessary. As always, like everything, we will continue to monitor the situation over East. But until we have confidence that community spread is under control, the border will stay in place. I've been clear and consistent about this. We look to our friends in Victoria, and we hope that as they come out of lockdown, we continue to see community spread get under control. So then, as a nation, we can continue on the same positive path out of COVID-19.